All right, hey everybody, we are live for episode 7 of Golf News RI's RI Amateur Series. Yes, we made it to 7 episodes, believe it or not. Like I've been saying, we're trying to get to 10. I have a couple of other people potentially lined up, but I can't make any official announcements yet because I don't want to jinx myself. But anyway, joining us for episode 7 is Austin Cilley. He is playing the RI Amateur. He tees off at 11:55 a.m. on Monday. The benefit of doing this show this week is that all the tee times are out. And we know where everyone's playing, and I can give some background. So, Austin, we're going to get right into it, but thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Awesome. So, a week away from the amateur, obviously, we want to get to your background and your amazing story, but a week away from the amateur, I know you're playing a practice round at Calabro this afternoon, Monday, for those that aren't watching live or don't watch live. What's their excitement level right now?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to go up there. It's one of my probably favorite tracks in the state. I really enjoy playing it, and I'm just ready to go up there, see how the course is playing this year, and get some numbers for next week, and just kind of reimagine different shots on the course and get ready for next week.
Well, while we're on this topic, so I wanted to get to the specifics of the practice round later, but since we're here, when you go play a practice round for a guy, for you, what are you looking to get out of? You mentioned numbers. What are you kind of looking to get out of it today?
Basically, I just figure out what I'm going to hit off each tee. Make sure that I have kind of like a game plan going into it, and then I just get numbers as far as slope, because obviously we can't use slope with our rangefinders in tournament rounds. So just elevation changes, whether it's a couple yards, it makes a big difference. So those are just the numbers that I'm looking to get, and then otherwise just enjoy the round. And I'm playing with a couple guys that play in all the RIGA events, so it should be a good time.
Awesome. So that's our amateur coming up in a week, and you're playing your practice round today. So super fun. Enjoy the Kirk, right? So let's get into your story, because it's pretty awesome. Your original career path, if you will, wasn't golf. It was basketball. You were a star player at Westerly High School, sharpshooter. Talk about your basketball game. Talk about your basketball. What kind of player were you? What was your career, your basketball career like, and what was that whole thing going?
So as far as basketball wise, it was kind of something that I gravitated towards when I was younger. I played a couple different sports, baseball and football, soccer, when I was really young, and kind of going into 8th grade, I just kind of gravitated towards basketball, played a year round, and just really fell in love with the game, loved every aspect of it. Had a good career in Westerly for my high school career. Played well. It was something that I set out goals, and I achieved most of them throughout my career, which was good. And then my main goal was to go and play in college, which I ended up going to Rhode Island College for a year and playing. Unfortunately, I had a pretty bad and severe injury that kind of negated my career going forward. But yeah, basketball taught me so much, in not only in just the game, but like just in life in general. And it saved me from a lot of different other avenues that I could have went down. So it was definitely a lifesaver in some aspects. I went through a lot of different things personally in my high school career, and that was kind of the one constant and consistent thing that I had to go to.
So you mentioned the injury. You suffered a back injury, and then you came out of that and you transitioned to golf. Talk about what that transition was like, saying, okay, basketball is done with, basically, and now I'm going to try golf, which was a sport you had played before, obviously, and you played, still pretty good even then, but now obviously you've taken it to the next level. So talk about, that transition from basketball being essentially done to, okay, let's focus on golf now.
Yeah. So it was the week of our conference championship at Rick. We just won the semifinals. We made it to the championship, and my back had been bothering me for probably 2 months at the point. So I was kind of struggling with my numbness in my legs, and we're kind of thinking it was fatigue, but I'm the type of person that I overtrain. So I try and make the game as easiest as it can be. So my practice sessions are pretty hard. So I went to the doctors, and he had me go get an x-ray of my spine, and it showed that my L5 vertebrae had been cracked. And it actually like moved off of the rest of the spine, more so towards my stomach. So it was taking the nerves, and it was a very weird pain. So fast forward, I tried all these different things. A year later, I had surgery in January, and then I had planned on literally just going to school full time 2 days a week, and getting into a job or whatever. And I was having conversations with my parents, and my dad was like, listen, you have your whole life to work. Why don't you just go out for the golf team and see how it goes? And so I emailed the coach like a week before my junior year academically, and went out and played, and made the team, and played in a couple events my first year, which was all right. It was definitely the transition was hard because I was used to having the confidence on the basketball court, and then going and playing golf competitively is differently than just going out with buddies and playing. So I had to learn, and quite frankly, I'm still learning. It's kind of a never-ending process. So just trying to learn from your experiences and moving forward that's kind of what keeps you going. And yeah, the whole process is it's pretty amazing, and I'm very fortunate to be able to be in the position that I'm in. I did play in high school a little bit. I played for my high school team. I probably played in like 2 junior events my whole life, maybe 3. And so to dive right into golf after a back surgery like that, I tell people now, and they kind of think I'm crazy because golf is a lot of torque on your back. But it's been, I mean, every day I just wake up loving to play and wanting to play. So it's been a real good, it's been a good transition. It's been hard, obviously. Golf's definitely not a game where you can just pick up and kind of run with it. You got to go through the motions. You got to learn. There's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I'm very fortunate to be able to be healthy enough to play. And luckily everything, knock on wood, with the surgery and everything, went well. So
Yeah, it's awesome. Golf is definitely tough. As a Teddy Bruschi, obviously former Patriot, he's a member of Wanamoisa, and somebody once asked him, "What's the toughest sport you ever played?" And he said golf instead of
yeah.
he didn't say football, he said golf. So definitely tough. But you've risen now to obviously risen up the amateur ranks. I was just reading an article, I believe it was in the Westerly Sun, if I'm not mistaken, from a couple
Yeah.
years ago. You won the Lake Elias Club Championship back then.
Yep.
Perhaps you're still the defending champion. You had tied a course record at Winnipeg against Arco, was a little old, but at least it gives some background to the people of your rise. Talk about that. Obviously, like you said, you wake up every day. You can't wait to go play. It's so an addiction of sorts. It seems
Yeah.
like. But just talk about you see yourself rising up the amateur ranks. I mean, obviously all great players know when they kind of have it, and you have that feeling. Do you see yourself continuing to rise, and do you still have aspirations to go pro one day? Is that still something in the works?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a competitor, you don't try and reach a certain point and then plateau. Like, you're always trying to get better and do everything that you possibly can to get better. And I feel like as a competitor, I wouldn't I'd be doing myself a disservice by saying that I don't want to rise up or don't want to go to the next level or whatever it may have you. Like, I feel like that is always going to be something to strive for. And I've always been a huge dreamer, and dreaming, having goals and aspirations to go to the next level is always something that will be on my mind or in the back of my mind, because I feel like as a competitor, that's what you need to strive for, something greater than yourself in order to obtain it. So, but yeah, as far as right now, I mean, I'm just focused on playing all these amateur events, trying to get some wins, rack up some good play, learn. I feel like learning is the best way to describe all of it, because every day, especially in the game of golf, there's no perfect. You're always striving to get better, and the only way in order to do that is to learn from your mistakes or learn from what has happened in the past. So yeah, I definitely think that I'm striving for more, but I'm trying to stay in the now and really stamp my footprint now.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the amateur a little bit. Let's get into it. Obviously, as we mentioned right off the top, you're playing a practice round at Calabro this afternoon. Again, Monday for people that aren't watching this live. Other than the practice round, what is your preparation like the rest of the week? Are you doing anything else? I mean, how often are you going to play? Not necessarily at Calabro, obviously, but just in general, what's your preparation like for the rest of this week?
Yeah, so I'll play today, practice tomorrow. I'll play at probably Lake of Isles on Wednesday, and then I'm playing in the Providence Open Thursday and Friday.
Yep.
And so that's at Triggs. That'll be good. Good prep. There hasn't really been too much stroke play events so far. Kind of Rhode Island, everything pushed back a little bit. So there's more at the end of the summer and into the fall. So that'll be good just to prepare myself. And I'm the type of person that doesn't really like to take days off, because I get into a rhythm and I get into a feel. And once I have that, I feel like my confidence rises and I play well. So I'm going to definitely have a club in my hand leading up to it every day. And yeah, just I've been playing pretty well. So just trying to keep that momentum going and see what happens.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, tee times have been released. You can see those on GolfNewsRI.com. Austin tees off at 11:55 a.m. on Monday, July 12th, and then at 7 something a.m. the next day. I don't know off the top of my head, but the first 2 days of stroke play. And one thing that I found interesting talking to a bunch of these guys is that transition from the 2 days of stroke play, where obviously you're playing for seeding and things, and then obviously Wednesday flips to match play. Talk about that mental excuse me. Talk about that mental transition from going to stroke play to match play. How do you flip the switch?
So it's funny that you say that, because last year or 2 years ago, we finished a stroke play round in the morning, and then the match play was in the afternoon. So it was a tough transition, because you're kind of looking for score I mean, you obviously have to get seeded into top 32 in order to make match play. So mentally, I think going into match play, you're just playing one person. So just, I know for me, staying patient, staying in the moment is kind of the key, but those keys also are in stroke play, because I feel like if you get ahead of yourself, which mentally I do in some aspects, you're missing what you're actually doing in the moment, and that's the most important thing. You can't stay patient. You can't be in tune with yourself if you're not in the moment.
Sure, I always find it interesting, and I talk to some of these guys about the stroke play, and how, and I don't know what your answer is going to be, but I was asking them about how important seeding is. Obviously, you have to make the top 32, but they said, like Jamie Lukowitz said, well, I try to play good in the stroke play because I want to get a low seed, and then I draw, Bobby Leopold in the first round. Tommy McCormick says, that it doesn't really matter because if you want to win, you probably have to go through all these guys anyway. So different attitudes toward the stroke play event. Again, obviously you have to make the top 32, but what do you go and take this into the stroke play event? How much stock do you put in seeding? Is that something that you focus on? And again, other than obviously have to make the top 32.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously you want to have a high seed because it means you're playing well. And like I said, that means you're being consistent and you're bringing that confidence into match play. But once the bracket's set, it's basically just, it's a clean slate. You're playing one other guy and you just got to take it one hole at a time, one shot at a time from there on out. So I think it is important in some aspects, and other aspects it doesn't mean anything really in a sense, because the top 32, like you said, you have to get through everyone anyway to eventually hoist the trophy. So to me, I think just kind of being able to play well in stroke play to bring that into match play is the most important, whether that's a high seed or a low seed.
Absolutely. We're talking about Austin Cilley here on our Amateur Series, episode 7, presented by GolfNewsRI. And again, if you're watching it live, hello. And if you're watching, for everyone that watches it later, hello to you as well. So as far as Kurt Bragg goes, you're playing there this afternoon, as we mentioned a few times. But you also that's one of your favorite tracks. What do you like about it, and what challenges do you think it's going to present for Amateur Week?
So what I like about it is just I like the layout. I think it's a really good layout. I think that with some of the holes being tree line, it's kind of target golf in a sense. I mean, you want to stay in between the trees, obviously. But I think that the greens are the trickiest part as far as next week comes. I've talked to Tommy obviously before about it, and we played in the tri-states there a couple years ago, and things sloping towards the maintenance shed down at the bottom is going to be, it kind of plays with your mind a little bit, and just some of the undulations in the greens. But yeah, I think it's a great venue. The conditions are always immaculate, which is something that I really enjoy. And yeah, I think the greens and around the greens and how thick the rough can get is going to be something that's going to be a little bit challenging. But I'll obviously have a better understanding of that today after playing it again. I haven't probably played it since last year at some point. So
absolutely. Couple more things, then we'll get you out of here so you can go get ready for golf. But one, you're still a big basketball guy. Who do you got in the NBA Finals?
I want to see the Suns win. I'm a big I like Chris Paul a lot. I like what he brings to the table, and Devin Booker is very underrated. So I think that those two, and then when you mix in DeAndre Ayton, I mean, he's been basically unstoppable down low. So I think those three guys are going to carry them. And actually, Jay Crowder is also a very good guy to have in that locker room since he's been to finals before. And I think he's one of the only people with both teams that have been to the finals. So I think the Suns are definitely gonna bring it to them, and I think that they have the chip on their shoulder to eventually become champions.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I feel like everyone's rooting for Chris Paul. I remember when he was at Wake Forest and PC was playing them in some tournament. I remember watching them play against PC, and now look at him all these years later. It's kind of fun. I was a little bit rooting for Atlanta because Chris Dunn plays for Atlanta, and I covered him when he was at PC. He was one of my favorite players to cover while I was doing that. So he's such a nice kid, and obviously been through a lot in his life, and he's obviously has some struggles in the NBA as well. But still root for him, as you can see with the Chris Dunn jersey behind me. But so I was over for Atlanta a little bit, just for him. But they got beat, obviously. All right. So Austin Cilley is still a big basketball guy.
Yep, definitely.
So I've asked all the other guys this. Favorite going into the RI amateur. Some guys gave me real answers. Some guys gave me silly answers, funny answers. What do you think? Who's your pick?
I mean, I feel like
And you
we
can
had
pick
talked
yourself.
about. Yeah, I feel like we had talked about from a competitor standpoint. Obviously, you want to pick yourself. I feel like I definitely have a lot to prove. I haven't. I've made strides, but I haven't really got to that next level. So I feel like myself is. I definitely wouldn't bet against myself. I think that's kind of crazy talk, but and then obviously you have Jamie, you have Bobby, you have Ty, Tommy, Michael Hamilton. So you got a bunch of guys that can win it, but I'll definitely pick myself.
There you go. First one to do it. Everyone else is picks somebody else, and Tommy said that there's 30 to 40 guys that could win it. So he took the big bailout answer. But
there definitely is.
Yeah. But awesome, and obviously there's a bunch of Kepler guys in the field. Actually, I'll ask you about that real quick, and then get you out of here. The home course advantage for these guys. I think there's 14 Kepler guys in the field. Do you think that is a thing? I mean, it hasn't really happened before. I mean, Andrew Leary last year as a Pawtucket member, and he lost. Lost in the final. Granted, he played 2 unbelievable stroke play rounds. I think he said the course
Yeah.
It was like ridiculous. So
Yep.
it's kind of like a caveat to that. But do you think, are you going to try to play with those Kerper guys and if you can, and see how they play the course? You try to learn from what they do. Is that something that you're?
Yeah, definitely. I'm playing with Derek Aldet today. And Tommy may be playing. I'm not sure yet. So I think that being able to play a practice round with those guys and kind of get the ins and outs of the grounds is definitely going to be an advantage. And I think it'll be an advantage for them when tournament play starts. But at the end of the day, you still have to go out. You still have to play. The tournament atmosphere is a little different than just going out and being a weekend warrior. So I think they have a slight advantage, but I also think that playing with them will help. I'm sure a lot of guys have played with members there in the recent weeks, which will definitely help when it comes to tournament time.
Absolutely. Austin Cilley, thanks so much for coming on. Good luck in the RI Amateur, and we will see you next week at Kirkbride.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Austin Cilley. There will be an episode 8, hopefully 9 and 10 too, of the RI Amateur series, and we'll have those announcements coming up in the next day or two, and hopefully get more of these guys on as we lead up to the RI Amateur, which is next week, July 12th to the 17th at Kirkbride Country Club, and GolfNewsRI will have all the coverage that you can possibly want all week long. And starting with our Golf Dudes podcast on Thursday, we'll have a preview and some breakdowns and some analysis, if you will, and all that good stuff. So Austin, thanks so much for coming on the show, and I hope everyone else has a great rest of their afternoon. Technically the holiday, so hope everyone's enjoying their day.